What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, back with some more Draft League content, and this time bringing you guys my team builder and battle for week 2 of season 3 of the PBAL, where this week the Miami Malamarlins are taking on the Memphis Bewears, coached by Odds. His links will be in the description down below. Be sure to check him out. Also leave a link to my playlist for the PBAL to check out if you guys missed any of my recent PBAL Wi-Fi battles. So, just jumping right into the team, we are coming off of a win against our week 1 opponent, Sventun and his Uppsala Umbrians 1-0. So looking to continue the momentum heading into our week 2 game versus Odds. And his team consists of the Zygarde 50, Tangrowth, Alolan Muck, Metagross, Excelgor, Steelix, Megalopony, Thundurus Incarnate, Primarina, Ditto, and Rapidash. So right away, he does have a lot of scary physical threats. Zygarde plus Megalopony is a very, very formidable core, although I do feel as though on my particular team, I do have ways of dealing with both the Zygarde and the Megalopony fairly well, particularly with my Buzzwole. Although, to be perfectly frank, there are some other threats to take into account. The Alolan Muck can be a bit annoying if he brings Curse Muck and he starts getting some boosts off. That can be very problematic for my team. And there's also the Thundurus Incarnate to take into consideration, considering that Thundurus is still a pretty big threat. Although I do have one of the better checks to Thundurus, I believe, in my Nidoqueen, so it's going to have to fulfill that role pretty decently. And there's also to take into consideration the fact that he does have that Ditto, which can obviously copy my Mons and any boosts and pretty much pick me off and revenge kill me and take the boost for himself and potentially reverse sweep me. And while my team does have options in terms of potential Mons that can boost its stats, between stuff like Tapu Koko, Necrozma, even my Buzzwole for the most part, I'm really not going to be using this opportunity to try to bring any setup opportunities at all, just to prevent the Ditto from trying to reverse sweep me if he copies one of my Mons, because the last thing I want to do is get reverse swept by my own set. So, taking into consideration, I do feel as though the team I brought, I don't really feel that confident with this particular build, but I do feel like I address most of his threats pretty well. I do feel like this team is still weak in some certain areas in regards to specific Mons, but I do feel like I still have a pretty good shot of winning this matchup. And before I jump into the team, you'll notice that I did make a slight transaction for my team. I ended up dropping Talonflame and picking up Noivern. The main reason for that being is the fact that while Talonflame is not a bad Pokemon in and of itself, the main thing Talonflame would want to have is adequate hazard removal, and quite honestly, my only removal on this team was either bringing Tapu Koko with Defog or bringing Defog on Talonflame itself. And considering the fact I have so many options in terms of hazard stacking between the Nidoqueen, Ferrothorn, Greninja, and Mega Glalie, I would rather not have to defog away my own hazards just to make sure Talonflame is not affected by Stealth Rock. So I ended up dropping Talonflame for pickup Noivern. Noivern, while it is slower than Talonflame, it does maintain the role of a fast, hard-hitting attacker, while at the same time still having that, more or less, I didn't have a Dragon type on this team, so Noivern fulfills that role. I have a Dragon type, I keep my Flying typing, and on top of that, I keep my Speed tiers all at the same time, more or less. So we will be using Noivern for this matchup, and this is a division matchup, so we will have to face Odds again later on in the season. But just to quickly run down the team that I'm bringing for this week, first off is my Sugar Berry Tapu Koko with Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, U-Turn, and Hidden Power Ground. This is just a very straightforward offensive momentum grabber. Sugar Berry is nice to take a 1,000 Arrows or a Earthquake from the Zygarde or the Steelix and take them out if they're in thin range with Dazzling Gleam, or chip it down with HP Ground in Steelix's case. U-turn is mainly here to ensure that I get momentum in the off chance he does decide to bring either the Steelix or the Zygarde. I can click U-turn, get some chip, and get a guaranteed momentum into one of my other Pokemon and go from there. Dazzling Gleam specifically for the Zygarde, Hidden Power Ground just to chip away at the Steelix. Also hit stuff like Metagross and the Rapidash for a decent amount of damage, although in most cases I'll just be trying to Volt Switch on both the Rapidash and the Metagross. So this is a very straightforward offensive Tapu Koko. Because of my opponent's speed tiers, I will be able to outspeed everything up to Thundurus. My Koko does not outspeed Excelgor or Megalopoly, so I didn't try to bother. I could try to speed creep or whatnot, but it didn't really make any sense to try to play the aggressive speed creep game, especially considering I'm not really good at doing that sort of thing in the first place. So I just went modest, max special attack, enough speed to outspeed his Thundurus, and the rest I threw into my Tapu Koko's bulk. Nothing much else to say in that regard. So Tapu Koko's role, just very straightforward, offensive pivot, nothing much else to say with that. So next up is going to be my Necrozma, and Necrozma's role is pretty straightforward. It is going to be my dedicated switch-in and my response to his Megalopoly, and somewhat the Zygarde 50 to a lesser extent. So, very straightforward, physically defensive with Rocky Helmet, Photon Geyser, Knockoff, Earthquake, and Moonlight, just to have recovery on this set. Photon Geyser, it's nice to just hit the Lopunny very, very hard. Knockoff is nice for getting rid of items, specifically from stuff like Alolan Muck, get rid of its 50% berry, so he can't recycle it if he is the Curse Muck set with Gluttony, Recycle, whatnot. Earthquake is there to hit the Alolan Muck and the Metagross, as well as get chip damage off on the Steelix. And Moonlight, as I mentioned, is nice to keep my Necrozma healthy to better check stuff like the Lopunny and his Metagross. So this is just a very straightforward max HP, max defense set with a relaxed nature to basically... it ensures that Photon Geyser is a special attacking. It's a special attack, so that way I do more damage to stuff like Tangrowth after I knock off potential. Like if I knock off its Assault Vest, I go for Photon Geyser, I do more damage on its lower special defense as opposed to its physical defense. And Knockoff and Earthquake, I already mentioned their roles on this team. So next up is my specially defensive Aguavberry Nidoqueen with Stealth Rock, Earth Power, Ice Beam, and Sludge Wave. And as I mentioned, this Nidoqueen is pretty much designed to be my dedicated response to his Thundurus, as nothing on my team can really take 2 hits from Thundurus on this particular build. So this is just by design. Just want to come in, take the hit from Thundurus. Unless it's like a nasty plus Psychium Z Thundurus, and I just straight up die to that because I have nothing else on my team that can do that. But more or less, this if he's not a boosting set, I can take 2 Psychics from Thundurus, no problem. And after the second Psychic, I can get my Aguavberry, get back up to 50% to take another Psychic, and to KO the Thundurus with Ice Beam. I have Earth Power to get some chip damage off on Steelix and the Metagross, and Sludge Wave is primarily there to do damage to the Primarina. So, very straightforward. HP give me an odd number, so I have a better chance of activating my Aguavberry at 25%, max special defense, and the rest I throw into speed for general speed creep. Next up is my Choice Scarf. Buzzwole with Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Earthquake, and Poison Jab. Just my main way of revenge killing his faster threats, specifically the Megalopoly, as I'm running enough speed on this to outspeed the Megalopoly, knock that thing out with a Drain Punch, get a Beast Boost, all that stuff. So, pretty much this is also a stopgap measure for stuff like Zygarde, as it can take a hit from the Zygarde even without me having to invest in my bulk, as this thing is incredibly stupid bulky. Even Thousand Arrows would just bounce off Buzzwole with 0 bulk. I think it does like 20% to like non-banded from non-banded Adamant Zygarde, which is crazy. And I guess revenge that thing with an Ice Punch. I think I can also live Z Outrage from Zygarde. I don't really know off the top of my head the calc. Depending on his spread, obviously, I can take the hit and go for Ice Punch to knock that thing out. Earthquake is nice to hit stuff like Steelix and Metagross, and well, specifically the Metagross, and then Poison Jab, which is specifically here for the Primarina. So max attack and up speed for the Mega Lopunny with my Choice Scarf, and the rest is thrown in the special defense, so I can take hits like Excelgor's Bug Buzz a little bit better. Next up is the debut of my Mega Glalie with Spike's Ice Shard, Double Edge, and Earthquake. This also does extremely well against his team if I'm able to weaken his main switch-ins, being the Steelix and the Metagross. Forget that, man. Regular Metagross. Aside from that, this also gives me a means of picking off Zygarde if it has gotten up enough boost, and I already took away, made it consume its Yache Berry or something along those lines, and Spikes is just nice in general to get chip damage on all of his grounded mons in general. So with that, just a very straightforward Mega Glalie set, max attack, enough speed to outspeed Jolly Zygarde, and the rest thrown into its bulk to take hits a little bit better from Odds' team. And then lastly is my Flyinium Z Noivern with Hurricane, Flamethrower, Hidden Power Ice, and U-Turn with max special attack, 164 speed, 84 HP, 8 defense. The speed is again enough for Thundurus, so I can pick that thing off with an HP Ice. But again, this also does a very good job against his team because of the fact that his flying resists are both. His flying resist is mainly the Metagross and the Steelix and Alolan Muck to an extent. If I'm able to get chip damage off on it and I'm able to get rid of the Muck's 50% berry or Assault Vest, then I can Hurricane into Z Hurricane, potentially knock out the Alolan Muck. Flamethrower is nice for the Metagross and the Steelix, as I mentioned. Hidden Power Ice for the Zygarde and his Thundurus, and then U-Turn is just nice for momentum. Originally, I did have Roost 3 attacks with Life Orb, but as the team was coming together, I noticed that I didn't really have a Z Crystal user, so I had to figure instead of just running Life Orb Noivern, just put the Z move on it, so I have a guaranteed means of getting off damage on something with Z Hurricane, as if I'm able to weaken the Steel types, then this becomes very, very free. Even against the Thundurus, I get some good chip damage off on that. So that is the team. The idea is to try to half stack my opponent and get myself into a position where I could potentially win in the end game with my Scarf Buzzwole if I can manage to do so. So that is going to be the team builder, and without further ado, let's just scop right over to the battle and see how we did. Alright guys, so here we are with the battle against Odds and his Memphis Bewears, and the first thing I noticed is, well, he pretty much had the same idea as I did in terms of the hazard stacking strategy as he brought the Excelgor, but I'm also noticing that he did not bring the Metagross, let alone the Steelix, and when I saw that he didn't bring either of those mons, I'm thinking, wow, if I'm able to weaken the Muck enough, Double Edge from my Mega Glalie is looking so free right now because he did not bring a single ice resist at all. And Mega Glalie just looks fantastic in this matchup, and just coming in on something that I know I can threaten out and then just get off a free Double Edge first. Just get off a free Double Edge in general, just get some big damage off on something. And if anything, for that matter. So my idea is going to change a little bit somewhat regarding what he brought, but other than that though, he essentially brought everything else I expected. The Excelgor was pretty much the main toss-up. I had the other 5 mons pegged in for sure. I really thought he'd bring like the Metagross or the Steelix as a means of having a stealth rocker, but he didn't bring rock. But the fact that he brought the Excelgor meant that he didn't bring any of his stealth rockers, so I don't have to worry that much in regards of like taking any residual damage except from spikes. So my Noivern is pretty safe in that regard as a lead. Also because of the fact that my Noivern also has Frisk, so I have the ability to just scout out what my opponent's item is right away, unless he's the unless it's Lopunny or whatnot. So aside from that, let's just jump right into the batch. Before I get started, I also want to give a quick shout out to Judas for genning my team, and to Lantern Joe for recording my game. So just regarding the matchup, I feel like the best overall lead would be my Noivern, because if anything, I am just able to get momentum depending on what he decides to lead with his I figured he want to lead off with the Excelgor, so I thought about leading off with my Noivern, as unless he is packing the Hidden Power Ice on his Excelgor, he cannot one-shot my my Noivern. But he ends up leading off with the Zygarde here, and I'm going to frisk and find out he's packing the leftovers on this Zygarde, so we don't see a Z-Crystal or Yachi Berry on this Zygarde. But nonetheless, I am just going to take the opportunity and go for Hidden Power Ice, as he's going to make the switch out into the Alolan Muck here as I go for the Hidden Power Ice. This is going to do nothing, as I'm not going to go for the U-turn here. And here I make a little bit of a misplay, as I should have gone out into my Necrozma here, but I ended up going out into my Glalie, as he's going to end up going for a Curse here. I'm like, yeah, I really should have gone Necrozma on this Muck, because at the very least I could have then gone for the knockoff the following turn and get rid of this thing's 50% bear. So I'm going to make the switch out now into my Necrozma on the, as this Muck's going to go for another Curse, so it's at +2, but at the very least, while this thing is at +2, I'd rather just knock off this thing's 50% berry to prevent him from recycling it in the future. So we're going to knock off the Iapapa berry here. He's going to go for a knockoff of his own. He's not going to kill me. He is going to take the chip damage from the Rocky Helmet. And now I'm just going to whittle this thing down with an Earthquake here, just to get some more residual damage off on this Muck. And I'm actually going to end up getting a crit here, which does suck for my opponent. But he's just going to go fire off a Poison Jab. He's going to knock out my Necrozma here, but it does suck. I lost my Mechalopunny switch in, but I do get the free switch in back into my Noivern here. And I'm just going to go for the U-turn and knock out the Alolan Muck. So yeah, one big threat is gone, and right away, his double-edged switch-ins literally do not exist anymore. But I'm going to switch out into my Tapu Koko, as it was pretty much the more surefire thing to go out into, as it covered for everything barring the Mega Lopunny. But he's going to go out into his Zygarde here. I'm just going to stay in and click Dazzling Gleam. I know he's not Rosalie Berry, so I'm just going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, get some damage off on this Zygarde. He's going to end up revealing the Substitute here, expecting me to switch out probably thinking I don't have Sugar Berry on my Tapu Koko. So I'm going to Dazzling Gleam again to break this thing's Substitute, as he is going to now throw off a Dazzling, not a Dazzling Gleam, but 1,000 Waves, excuse me. I thought it was 1,000 Arrow, but he goes for 1,000 Waves. As I consume my Sugar Berry, I eat up the 1,000 Waves, and I'm going to, I believe I'm just going to click Dazzling Gleam again on this Zygarde. So he's going to end up switching out here into his Tangrowth, I believe. Yeah, so he goes Tangrowth on the following Dazzling Gleam. And I'm thinking this thing is Assault Vest, but that did way too much damage for Assault Vest, so he reveals that he is indeed Leftovers. So here I'm just going to make the Volt Switch play. And I'm just going to Volt out into I'm going to make the aggressive play and go out into my Mega Glalie here, because as I mentioned, the Muck is gone. His AA switch-ins are looking very, very minuscule and non-existent. So he's going to go for Elite Seed here, get some health back from my Mega Glalie, but now you're looking at his team and it's like, okay, where's the double-edged switch-in? I don't see it. It doesn't exist. So I'm just going to Mega Evolve. I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to click Double Edge here. He's going to end up sacking off the Zygarde to the Double Edge. Ideally, I could have gone for Spikes, but if he got crazy and stayed in, it didn't really benefit me in the long run. I could have spiked up potentially just to break a potential Focus Sash on an Excelgor. I don't really know, but I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to Double Edge. We're going to take this Zygarde out with the Double Edge. So Mega Glalie picking up its first kill of the season. In comes the Excelgor here, and I'm thinking he's probably going to Focus Blast here, so I want to go out into my Nidoqueen. Although this might be a little bit of a questionable play here, I'm thinking, oh, I need my Nidoqueen for Thundurus. But I'm looking at the damage as Focus Blast did, and I'm like, that did too little damage for the for him to be invested. So I'm thinking that this Excelgor probably has Final Gambit, so I'm going to make the play out into my Noivern here, as he is going to end up revealing the Spikes and then going for Final Gambit to take out my Noivern. So this ends up being a trade that kind of works out for me, because if he Final Gambited my Noivern instead of my Nidoqueen, if I lost Nidoqueen, Thundurus became a lot more of a problem. So I would rather lose my Noivern over my Nidoqueen in that exchange. So here, I'll make the play back in my Mega Glalie, because I felt like if he went Tangrowth, I get it for another free Double Edge. But he's going to end up going into Mega Lopunny here, and I'm just going to end up sacking off my Mega Glalie, unfortunately. So I'm just going to get chip damage off, go for the Ice Shard here. He's going to go for the return and knock out my Mega Glalie. So it sucks that I couldn't do more with this thing, but I couldn't go hard Buzzwole. I could have, but I'd rather the HP just in case the Thundurus was Scarf. So I want to make the play out to my Nidoqueen, because I don't really have any other thing that wants to take a hit. I want to preserve the health on my Buzzwole for someone like Tangrowth in case I don't kill that thing and he knocks off my Choice Scarf. So I'm going to make the Nidoqueen play. He goes for return. I go for Sludge Wave here. It's an easy 2-hit KO. I'm going to return. He's going to return again. He's not going to kill me because I consume my Guava Berry. I go for another Sludge Wave, and we're going to knock out the Mega Lopunny with the Sludge Wave. We ended up getting a crit, though. I don't know how much that mattered. I think we would have killed anyway. I'm not entirely sure. But then comes the Thundurus here, as Thundurus is now going to go for the Dark Pulse to kill my Nidoqueen. But I am just going to go out into my Tapu Koko and see if this thing is indeed Choice Scarf. If it is, he's going to switch out anyway, as there's not really anything he can knock me out with, and I do outspeed this this Thundurus unless he's Scarf. So he's going to make the switch out into his Tangrowth here, as I'm just going to go for the Dazzling Gleam to get some damage off on this thing. So now I believe I go for another... I think I went for another Dazzling Gleam here to weaken this thing. Yeah, so Dazzling Gleam here. I'm thinking this thing is packing Earthquake, but he's just going to go for the Leech Seed on the Tapu Koko. And here I'm like, okay, I think I should have this game won. I think the only way I lose this game is if he is indeed a Choice Scarf Thundurus with Hidden Power Flying. Because now my Koko is in range of Hidden Power Flying after the Spike. And I end up going for Volt Switch here, which kind of makes things a little bit harder for me in terms of keeping health on this thing. But I felt like when I made that play, I didn't really think that he'd be Choice Scarf Thundurus. So I make the play out into Buzzwole as I Volt Switch out, killing the Tangrowth. And I'm thinking, please don't be Scarf HP Flying. He's not Scarf. I go for the Ice Punch, get off huge damage on the Thundurus, and he ends up revealing that he is going to be the Electrium Z. So this pretty much guarantees to win in my favor because of the fact that I got enough damage off on the Thundurus to put it in range of any attack, any stab move I choose to go for on Tapu Koko. So my Buzz was going to drop to the Gigavolt Havoc, but it did its job in getting enough damage off on Thundurus, putting it into range where I can now go back into my Tapu Koko, take the Spikes damage. I click Volt Switch because it's my strongest move because of Electric Terrain. We're going to knock out the Thundurus, and we're going to pick up a 1-0 win over Odds and his Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Bewears, excuse me. So, GG to Odds. That was a really very fun, very close game. I did feel as though at the beginning I felt like I didn't play that beginning well. If I let him set up any more with that Alolan Muck, he definitely would have potentially 6-0'd me. I really would have to make a lot of plays. I would have to like sack Nidoqueen and all that stuff, which I really didn't want to do. I feel like I played well enough towards in the mid game and seeing the final gamut coming on the Excelgor, because like I said, if I wanted something to go down to the final gamut, I would have rather been Noivern instead of Nidoqueen, because I need Nidoqueen to deal with Thundurus, and I need Nidoqueen to double as a response to Mega Lopunny, since I had to sack my Necrozma so early on in the game in regards to dealing with the Alolan Muck. But I do feel as though that I responded well enough, despite the threat that was Curse Alolan Muck regarding knocking off the Ayapapa Berry, and getting that crit on the Earthquake actually mattered a bit more. It probably would have made it so I probably wouldn't have gone Noivern at that point in time. I probably would have went Nidoqueen to guarantee Earth Power to kill. Especially considering I didn't want to burn the Z move on Alolan Muck. Well, actually, if I went Noivern, I would have had to burn the Z move regardless in that scenario, just to guarantee that I kill. I didn't want to. I basically had to risk Hurricane not missing, which I didn't want to end up doing, obviously. So, yeah. So it eventually all things ended up working out for me towards the end, and yeah, that's pretty much the battle. So we're now 2-0. After 2 back-to-back close 1-0 wins, hopefully we could do a little bit better in our next game, where we take on the Fox Creek Bayonets, if I recall correctly. So yeah, hopefully this is still a very fun game, very close 1-0 win. I would like to try to win by a little bit of a bigger margin in these games and not try to cut it as close as these last 2 games were, because this one was scary close, especially considering that I thought the Thundurus was indeed Choice Scarf, Hidden Power, Flying, but luckily for me, it did not end up being that in this case. But yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy the battle nonetheless. If you did, I would appreciate it if you leave a like, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. Again, be sure to check out my opponent in the link in the description, as well as the playlist if you guys missed my draft analysis and my Week 1 PBAL match. So that's going to be it from me. Again, I hope you guys did enjoy the battle, and until the next time, this is Tone, signing off for now. Peace out.